Hello, stupid.
Hi, Sanya.
Hi, Zama. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Doing good on this little rainy afternoon.
Oh, is it rainy?
It is, yeah, it's super gloomy today,
Are you guys done with winter already then?
basically. we had one snowfall, well, two if you want to count like 2 centimeters, and our coldest day in like 25 years, and now we're
Yeah.
into spring. I'm kidding.
I like forgot what Vancouver was. The I think October to mid January is really miserable and the rain like kills me. I can't.
hmm
But afterwards, like the rest of winter is pretty chill.
Yeah, no, it's usually very mild. It doesn't really go in the negatives that much, and then it just rains
Yeah.
nonstop. And it's
I
not
was
even
talking
the
to one
fun
of
like thunderstorm, it's just mild rain.
I know, and it's just like kind of cold, kind of wet, and nonstop, and you don't see the sun, and it's great. It's
Mhm.
horrible. I can't. But I was talking to one of our friends in common, actually,
Mhm.
whose baby is turning one in end of February,
Oh,
and she was
yeah.
like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do for the birthday and stuff like that." And like, it's possible that end of February you guys could have some nice weather and do like something in the park.
Totally.
That's insane to me. That's wow. I do miss
Totally.
that a bit.
Yeah, I know it's pretty much by all the time. See, the rain doesn't get to me when I moved here. People are like, "Oh, like nonstop rain." It's just the cold that gets to me. And that's why I moved out of Ontario because I couldn't do the cold. The rain doesn't get to me, but hopefully I'm going to Hawaii next week, so it'll be a really nice break from this rain.
Yeah, that is nice. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going
How's
on
your winter
vacation,
going?
right?
I am, yeah. I have a couple weeks off, so I'm going to Hawaii hopefully with my parents. I wanted to take them on a little vacation. They've never been.
Cute,
I haven't been to Hawaii since 2019, so I'm super excited.
cute, super cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, me, I don't know. I've been looking for opportunities to go get a few days in the sun, something like that, but I don't think it's happening this winter. So I
Yeah.
think I'm just gonna have to sit tight and wait for the sun to come back naturally.
Mhm. I know, right?
My
Um
birthday's at the end of February also, and I was looking with Justin, should we take like a long weekend and go somewhere? But I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot of people here who will want to celebrate with me and have like family dinner or family brunch actually this year that we're doing. So
yeah. Your family loves to brunch.
my family, well, we do love to brunch. Yeah, breakfast
You
food is
guys
the
are
best.
big brunch people.
Oh yeah, maybe it's
I
a French thing.
I was going to say I don't think Indians brunch.
Uh,
Like, I don't if I told my parents, "Oh, you want to host brunch?" They'd be like, "What? No, come
well,
for
like,
dinner."
correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have that much breakfast food to begin with.
No, we do. Oh, it wouldn't be breakfast. It would be like more of like a lunch, I think. Like,
Like,
yeah, like
yeah.
a brunch. But I think like I think Indian families just like to host dinner more.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I'm like, I think like even our brunch foods have like just so much carbs in it. Like we have these things called parantas, and it's just like
Those are
potatoes.
the best. They're
Yeah,
so freaking good.
it's like carb on carb. It's like potato, like roti stuffed with potatoes. So
Yeah.
carb on carb.
So
Uh, we like we have brunch foods. We brunch heavy, but I don't think people host each other for brunch. But you know what? It might just be my family. There might be other families that are like, we
yeah,
brunch
yeah.
so much.
Like I want to say traditionally, but maybe that means nothing. But traditionally, what would like an Indian family eat for breakfast?
Like in India, or
Yeah.
no, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Maybe here too. I think like an Indian breakfast for an Indian family would be like parantas. I think that would be the biggest thing, and it's like mainly aloo parantas, which is potato.
I mean,
Um,
absolutely 100% on board.
yeah.
Every morning, every day.
Oh, there's these. I don't know if you've had these, but it's like puris. It's like these little like puff rotis. They're smaller.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
That with like potatoes. It's usually just like potatoes and another carb to substitute.
Right. Why not? Okay.
Um, Yeah. Like, my family, like, that's, like, very, like, what not even once a month, like, if me and my sister both happen to be there, my mom's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make aloo parantas," but other than that,
Yeah.
that's usually we're just yeah. Me and my sister aren't even big breakfast people, so I think my parents just end up eating a healthy breakfast, we're not up anyways.
I know I've like stopped eating breakfast in the last few years.
Mhm.
And I kind of want to get back to it, but I'm really like on like mostly I don't like making dirty dishes first thing in the morning.
Mhm.
Like making eggs is all good and I love eating eggs and toast, but like having to wash a pan first thing in the morning,
Yeah.
I'm not into it.
Yeah. I'm not a big breakfast person either. I like naturally intermittent fasts. Like
Yeah,
before
same.
it was a
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Because if I eat just like for example like a toast in the morning, then I'll be hungry all day. But if I don't
Yeah.
eat until like 2 or 3, and I'm not hungry, and then I just eat in the afternoon.
I know, same. But then I'll make like whatever I'm having like as my first meal, usually a breakfast. Like I usually have eggs
Oh,
and yogurt and stuff, but
interesting.
I just can't eat first thing when I wake up. I love to like just sip on my coffee for like 1 hour. And then I'm like at 3 p.m. I'm like, oh, I should eat some meal now.
They all say like there's nothing best for your stomach than coffee on an empty stomach, right? It's like
Yeah,
that and orange juice on an empty stomach. Why not?
exactly. And then you're like, why am I dying and I have no energy and I can't be productive?
What is this random anxiety at 11 a.m.?
Totally me.
Speaking of, I'm having my third
I know.
coffee.
Same. I'm like still on my first coffee. I do have random anxiety.
Well, all right. Episode 12. It's a Sanya episode, so I've got a little bit of humor to start off this morning. You ready?
Let's do this.
Why do octopi always win in fights?
Because of ink? Squinting? No.
Why do you try to guess every
I
time?
don't know. Because you phrased it as a question, I feel like I need to
That's
add
a
something here.
joke. That's a joke structure. It's a typical joke structure.
Okay.
All right.
Tell me.
You ready for the punchline? Because they're well armed.
I get it.
Do you? Do you want to
8
explain it to
arms,
us?
8 tentacles. Is it 8? Yeah, octopus. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got nervous there for a second. I was like, wait, is it?
I think the only reason this is funny, me starting the segment with that, it's because you're so bad at jokes. Like
I am
I'm not
I'm a
asking you a
bad.
question you don't have to answer.
I feel like I always need to figure it out, answer. Then I have to say something once you deliver the punchline to like
Yeah.
let people know I've understood.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And like a few weeks ago, you tried to just make your own joke afterwards on the spot, and it wasn't even funny. Anyways,
I know,
it's
and it's so funny as you're saying that. I'm thinking of like maybe I could bring an octopus joke back into this. I can't. I can't.
uh, I think you might have to put ink to paper for that.
Ooh,
Straight
great
from the
job.
brain.
No, you were thinking of that all day.
No, no, I picked it at random. Oh, I have to mark it off actually, so I don't repeat it again some other day. Just
Yeah.
checking in. There we go.
All right. Since you started us off with a dad joke, let's go into what I have for you today.
I'm so excited. It's been 2 weeks in a row now that you keep complete mystery.
I think I've been doing that for a lot.
No,
I'm
usually I
proud
have a
of
hint of what
myself.
you're doing.
Do you? I'm usually like, and I really want to tell you, but a part of me is like, I don't, and I know you wouldn't do this to me, but I feel like I tell you, and then you'd go into your own deep dive, and then you'd like not be as excited. I don't know why, but
Oh
um,
my god, that's funny. No, I
all
like it.
right.
Let's try to do that.
So this week, I have for you the third man syndrome. Have you
What?
heard of it?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, me neither until I started this deep dive.
Ooh.
Um, I got it just popped up on Instagram where like I think BuzzFeed did an article saying I just learned about the third man syndrome and I can't stop thinking about it. And I was like, I'm in. And I went down this little rabbit hole.
Oh my
So
god, I
the
love it.
third man syndrome, it describes a strange phenomenon experienced by explorers or others in survival situations in which a presence intervenes at a critical moment to offer encouragement, guidance, and support.
What do you mean a presence?
All right. So that's kind of what this episode's about. So, third man syndrome is a term, right? It comes from a poem, a T.S. Eliot poem called The Wasteland. And here's a little stanza from the poem. Who's the third that walks beside you? When I count, there's only you and I together. But when I look up ahead the white road, there's another one walking beside you. Gilding wrapped in a brown mantle, hooded. I don't know whether a man or woman, but who is that on the other side of you? So it's the victim, their group, and then a third.
Ooh.
So this poem was inspired by the real life experience of Ernest Shackleton, an Irish explorer who went on a near death expedition in Antarctica in 1916. Um, so basically, a little brief history here about what this poem was inspired by and then what this term comes from, okay?
Okay.
So the term comes from this poem. So it was a crew in 1914 to 1916 on the Endurance expedition. Specifically, there was Ernest Shackleton, the leader of the expedition, Frank Worsley, the captain of the ship, and Tom Crean, the second officer. The crew of the Endurance had gotten stranded in Antarctica for 2 years, losing their main ship in the process, until 6 of them sailed on one of their lifeboats for a 17-day across the open ocean of to reach the South Georgia Island. They were aiming for the whaling station in order to ask for help rescuing the 20 plus men that they left behind on the ship.
Right.
Fortunately, Worsley was a gifted navigator. He got them there. But because of the storms, they landed on the wrong side of the island, and half their crew had gotten sick or injured, so they left them behind where they landed, and the 3 of them carried on. So this is Shackleton, Worsley, and Creed. They trekked through the previously untraversed interior of the island, which consisted of snowy mountains with no adequate supplies or equipment except for some rope. They didn't even have sleeping bags and had to lie down right on the snow. So all of them later recounted on their journey to reach the whaling system that they felt another presence with them. So there was 3 of them walking, but all of them felt like there was a 4th man with them. So basically, after they reached the whaling station, it took them, because of the weather conditions, 36 hours to reach there, and then it took them 4 months to get back to Elephant Island to save the rest of the people they left behind. And miraculously, all of them had survived.
Wild. But what you mean, like they felt there was someone there?
So a lot of these stories we'll go through today is that everyone reports in these like near life or death situations that they have someone with them. And the only way we can kind of rationalize this is that there's like a guardian angel kind of looking out for them.
Wild.
And what's crazy is that you can kind of say that in like these life or death scenarios, it's kind of your brain rationalizing that there's someone else with you so you don't feel alone. But sometimes it's also a shared experience.
Well, yeah, there were already 3 people.
Yeah.
So they just like remember a 4th person there, but they
have a feeling of a presence. And also when you're going through such a big survival, like fighting to survive in this experience, you don't even remember every little thing you've been through, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of just like a presence following you.
Interesting.
What's even more interesting is that from all the stories that I've gathered, some people have like a shared experience, which kind of blows me away, because it's like, okay, like if you went through a life or death scenario and you're like, hey, I didn't feel alone, I felt like someone was with me, I'm like, oh, maybe that's just your brain rationalizing it, like you being alone. But when it's a bunch of people feeling the same presence, or when the presence takes form of someone that would comfort you, it's insane. So there's lots of different stories. Obviously, I went down a deep Reddit thread, And some of these stories just blew me away about
Okay.
who this third man is.
Wait, so was that the conclusion of their exhibition? Like with
Yeah,
the
so they found where they're supposed to go, and then they even made it back to their men, um, and who were all survived. But as they recounted these stories, all three of them, in separate occasions, was talked about feeling a fourth presence.
okay, okay, okay.
So that is where the term third man syndrome came from this poem. Um, and that's where the name
The
came
one
from.
talking about
Sorry.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. That's where this name came from. So I have
Mhm.
another little similar story about another one back in the day. I think this would probably be like the second time the third man syndrome was kind of documented.
Right.
So this is from 1933. A British explorer, Frank Smith, almost became the first person to reach the summit of Mount Everest. Uh, the journey on top was nearly disastrous. His entire hiking party had fallen behind and unable to make it through because of sweeping wind, snow, ice, and low oxygen. The usual things you'd expect on
Mhm.
your climb to Mount Everest. And this is 1933, so no one has actually been up there at this point, right? And then Smith continued on, but he actually never made it to the top. He missed it by 1,000 feet.
How do you miss the top?
But I'm guessing because there's so much snow and just wind, so there's snow blowing in front of you. You don't know where the top is, right?
I mean, up. Like, I kind of want to agree with you, but I don't get
I'm guessing like
it.
he's like, there's snow blowing. He's like, I can't do it. And he was like 1,000 feet away.
Oh, okay. Like he gave up.
Yeah.
Like he. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it sounded like he almost like
He was like
it
up there.
sounded
He's
like
like, doesn't feel like
he
it's
thought he
it.
was at the top. He thought he was at the top, but he didn't. Like he missed it. Is like, what do you mean he missed it? But like he didn't make it.
I think he didn't make it. Yeah,
I love. Like, can you imagine being like famous for
almost
almost
making it
accomplishing
to the top.
something?
Exactly, right? But I'm
I mean,
thinking maybe he wasn't even famous until this his story came out about the third man factor, because later in
okay.
his diary he described that scientists commonly refer to as the third man syndrome. He recounted at one point on the top of his ascent, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a candle milk mint cake and broke it in half. And then he felt the need to turn around and give it to his companion. But then he realized there was no one there because his entire hiking party had fallen behind. Um,
Okay.
and that's where he
I
was
need.
like, I just felt, even though I was climbing alone, I felt this strong feeling of having a companion beside me.
That's so weird.
What are you feeling?
Also, no, no. But I got distracted because what kind of cake?
They called it a Kendall mint cake.
Candle? Like
Kendall, like Kendall
oh,
Jenner.
oh, okay.
I don't
It's
know.
Hervis. That's why they call it
Maybe it's a cool brand.
that. Oh, but that's wild. Like he was so certain someone was there that he like split it in half and like was about to share it with them.
Yeah, and then you realize he was all alone. Um,
Yeah. I mean, oh yeah. Yeah. That's weird. But also like the lack of oxygen
mhm.
and the exhaustion, the fatigue kicking in.
Yeah, this one
Like
I
you going
guess
through
you
all the
can totally
fireworks.
rationalize to your brain, making you feel like you're not alone, or you're kind of
Mhm.
just going crazy with the lack of oxygen. Totally. But the first story, I'm like, it feels like there's someone there, because if it's three of
Yeah.
you feeling that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's more compelling because there's so many other people are involved, right?
Yeah. So basically, the author of a book called "The Third Man Factor: Surviving the Impossible." We have the writer John Grieger here. He claims that there is several scientific explanations of the third man syndrome, such as biochemical reactions to misfire in your brain activity. But he believes that the spiritual explanation makes the most sense, and I
I
kind
mean,
of agree with him.
mhm. Yeah. Also, like, I don't know if we had this conversation on the podcast yet or not. Oh, maybe it was off air. But like for me, it's like, well, the saying like any science advanced enough is indistinguishable from indistinctable, and like you can't tell it apart from magic. I hate that I love this quote, but I can never say
You know
it.
what? I feel like we did talk about this on the podcast during
Yeah,
the lamp episode.
we might have. Yeah, yeah. So for me, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, well, you know, I I'm okay with a spiritual experience being triggered by something biological.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like, well, it's the takeaway is kind of the same for me.
Yeah, totally. Do you believe in like guardian angels?
Um, I mean, I think I have a problem with the term angel
Okay. Too religious?
because it's very like religious associated.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, but like,
Someone looking out
I
for
don't
you? How about that? Do you believe that there's
that I
someone
could,
looking out
yeah,
for you? Yeah.
yeah, I could be on board with that.
Yeah.
I could be on board with that. It's always like, but yeah, I guess so. It's just I don't have anyone who died who I would think would care about me that way.
No, but in all fairness, same. As I read these stories, I'd be like, I kept thinking that too. Like, if I had someone up there, who would it be? You know?
Yeah, yeah. So, but maybe like as I grow older and other people die, it's like when maybe I hope when you die you'll check in on
Sure,
you
I'll be
every
your
now and
guardian angel.
then.
Kills me now. He's like, I need someone up there. But you know what? Another thing though, your guardian agent doesn't have to be someone, or sorry, the person looking out for you also doesn't have to be someone that was it previous in your life and died and passed on. It always could just be someone that we believe is out there looking out for us. And it doesn't have to
Yeah,
be someone that we've known. Maybe, we were assigned this person at birth
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or this alien.
Like
It doesn't
I
have to
think
be religious in any way either.
no, no, no. I think I I do believe that the universe provides.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if it necessarily always takes a form of a person
Hmm.
physically that guides you. Um, but I think there's certain things and events and even thoughts that are put in your way that are there as guidance.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Before we move on to what forms the person looking out for you takes, I do have a
Okay.
little story here from the book, "The Third Man Factor: Surviving the Impossible." So he writes that during the September 11 terrorist attacks in 2001, many survivors reported feeling a presence of the third man who guided them to safety. For example, a group of firefighters that were trapped in the North Tower of the World Trade Center reported feeling a presence of a mysterious figure who led them down the stairs to safety. One of the firefighters later described the experience as follows: "He led us right to the right stairway and said, 'You're going to be okay now. You're going to be all right.' We didn't know who he was, but he was an angel to us."
Oh my god, I just had full body shivers.
Right? And there's countless stories about people during the terrorist attacks feeling a presence.
Wow.
Um,
Oh,
some of these people named their presence. They said that there was a gentleman named Michael that came up to them, that helped them, that telling them they're going to be okay. And then they did survive. Um, I find that insane.
yeah. I think I mean the report of the firefighters I find crazy and compelling. But without going into the details of every report, like there's obviously a lot of people involved in that incident,
Hmm.
and there's obviously a lot of the good Samaritan helping out each other and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So like, and it would be hard to get back in touch with someone that you saw once, like protecting you from something, right? So there
Totally.
could be some actual people that
Actual
helped them
humans.
these days, right?
Totally.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that one. So that one can also be rationalized, right? You can also think that you have a guardian angel there looking out for you, or it was just actually
definitely.
someone who helped you and then looks like they disappeared, but they moved on to
Yeah,
help someone else,
yeah, yeah.
Totally. What about the stories that we've all heard about those people that worked at the World Trade Center the day of September 11, 2001, and then they had something, a gnawing feeling, a voice in their head telling them to not go to work? Have you heard about those stories?
Yeah. Yeah, and some people who turned around like halfway to work and stuff like that.
Exactly. So while we talk about the third man syndrome, there are more and more stories coming out about a voice in people's head. And I
Mm.
thought these were more insane than anything because I find that this can't be explained off. And a lot of the times, this voice in your head is your own.
Oh yeah.
So
What? What do you mean?
I'm going to send you a story here.
Okay.
And if you could read it out for us.
I was in a serious car wreck at 18 involving a speeding, fully loaded tractor trailer. Sorry, that was a sequence of words that really tripped me. And right before impact, I heard a very clear voice that sounded just like me and that said, "Relax for impact." Told me if I survived that, then I had to be prepared for the next step, counted the flips and rolls of the vehicle for me, and then told me to shut the engine down, gather the important things, and kick my way out. It very much felt like a second me in the car to talk me through, and it's probably why I survived because it kept me completely calm and able to function through the whole thing. I'm pretty sure I was just talking to myself, but I didn't feel like it.
And
Wild.
there were a crazy amount of these stories where people were about to get in an accident and their own head, their own voice told them prepare for impact.
Whoa, that's crazy.
There was a couple of stories where, especially back in the day when we didn't wear seatbelts as often, and
Yeah.
people would get in their car and they'd be driving, and their own voice in their head would be like, "Put your seatbelt on now."
Whoa. It's like your consciousness split into two like entities,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I keep thinking of this as like the devil on your shoulder and the angel on your shoulder. That little, I mean, I guess I would say cartoon that I think of in my head, where the angel is
Yeah.
like, get it together, something's gonna happen. And then instead of panicking in this moment, your guardian angel is kind of guiding you through what to do next.
Did you ever have something like that happen?
I did not. As I read this, I was like, it'd be so cool if something did. But no,
Yeah.
did you?
Not voices, no. No. I do get like sometimes struck by like a very, very strong feeling.
Hmm.
Um and like it's just like
An instinct?
I don't know, and I guess an instinct, yeah. And like sadly often I ignore it. I'm really bad at listening to it.
Hmm.
But like most recently I was struck with like random anxiety that I was going to bump into someone that I really didn't want to bump into.
Hmm.
And then I was like, no, it's going to be fine. I'm still going to do the thing. And then I did the thing and bumped into them.
That's
Right.
insane.
Right. Um, so,
But you were fine.
but I was fine. No.
Just
And
like
I,
you
and I, and I
told
get those
yourself.
kind of
Yeah.
things sometimes, but never get like actual, like distinct voice from like someone talking to you. That's like, for me, it feels really like a split, like your subconscious taking entity and like taking like, just sentient form, right?
Hmm.
And being like, okay,
I totally agree. So I'm glad that you're tripping out about this voice in your head just as much as I was.
oh
Because then I came across a story from 1997
my
about
God.
this woman where the voices in her head told her about the brain tumor that she had.
What?
So, in London, a woman was correctly told about a brain tumor by the voices in her head. Um, so, so the woman had no previous psychological problems and first heard a
Okay.
voice while she was at home just reading. which told her not to be afraid and said that it was a friend that wanted to help. She thought she got went crazy, and then she sought out medical help. The consultant psychiatrist, and I can't say their name, it's Mr. Ikiwu Azuku, wrote that
Sure.
wrote about his treatment, wrote about the treatment of this woman in the British Medical Journal. She said that he said that she appeared to be cured after receiving counseling and medication, but while on holiday, her hallucinations returned. This time, there were two voices. They told her to return to England immediately because there was something wrong with her. Back in London, the voices gave her an address to go to, the brain scan department of a large hospital in London. The woman persuaded her husband to drive her there. And then keep in mind, this is 1997, so you're not immediately Googling these kind of things, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
how did the voices in your head know about, like, this brain
A
scan
random
department?
address.
So insane. And her husband drove her there, and a brain tumor was discovered, which was
What?
duly removed. And after that, she made a full recovery. And here's the kicker, this is what threw me off the edge. As she regained consciousness after the operation, she heard the voices for a final time. They told her, "We're pleased to have helped you. Goodbye."
Oh no! What?
Yeah. So, one of the explanations that was put forward by the medical conference, where Dr. I can't say his name, Azui described the case, was that she had sensed a feeling in her head, which led her to a fear of tumor. That was the only explanation they can put forward, because other than that, everyone else is as freaked out as we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Imagine the voices in your head
Oh,
telling you this, and then like at the end, them being right, and then you're like, okay, well, think we're pleased to have done work with you. Bye now. Like, where do
that
they
is
go?
great. Okay, wait. I have two um kind of like same theories.
Hmm.
Kind of one goes back to your red lamp episode or whatever.
Hmm.
Like if we are in some sort of simulation, it's like the entity like playing the simulation
Hmm.
that's stepping in
Hmm.
kind of thing, right? Or the consciousness playing the simulation, or like that's stepping in and doing like, hey, this we need to handle.
Yeah.
Or kind of the same, like the theories of reincarnation, how you're the same entity just going through different lives and stuff like that. Was that like that higher entity that's like stepping in?
Yeah.
And it could be the same for like the third man syndrome.
Yeah. It like literally to me, or like when I was reading this, I was like, okay, but like how people talk about when sometimes you have brain tumors, the part of your
Yeah,
head it's pressing on makes you do crazier things. You act like something else, or you turn into something else and you start acting differently.
yeah,
That's what I'm like, oh, that's explaining the voices in her head. And
yeah,
she had a feeling and it's just, like saying that out loud maybe. But the
yeah,
fact that after they removed the tumor, she regained consciousness and they said, "We're pleased to be of service."
yeah. That's why. Did she say what the voices sounded like? Was it her own voice?
No, so because it was 1997, there's not that much information about it. I actually found a
Mm,
comment on Reddit talking about it, where someone's like, "I don't know if I remember hearing this case properly," and then I just found one article around it by the Irish Times.
wild. Okay, you know the did you watch Grey's Anatomy?
Yes.
So Izzy, when she gets her brain tumor, she sees her like dead fiance,
Yeah.
and he's like, "I'm here for you. I'm here for you," and tries to convince her, like,
Oh,
and leads her to discovering that she has a tumor.
that is so true.
Right. So I wonder if it was inspired by
So
that.
many medical things I hear about always go back to Grey's Anatomy.
I know.
They do a really good job overreacting these situations. But yeah, totally. And it's so funny that you actually bring that up because there's so many stories about not only people that are dying that see someone that is already dead to be like, "Hey, come on over, like, I'm here for
Yeah.
you." Or
Yeah.
there's a lot of stories where someone has already passed.
Wait. I'm just imagining myself on my deathbed now, and like my grandfather is just like casually like, "Hey, come on over." What are you on about?
Well,
Hey, come on over. Just come chill.
come on over. I'm here to take you. It'll be fun. Don't worry. Here's some candy. Our guardian angel is actually a full out creep. No, I'm joking. Um, but there's a lot of stories where someone has passed, and like, or you don't know that they have passed yet, and then people have hallucinations of them before they even find out that they've passed, and that's them kind of being like, "Hey, I'm crossing over now."
Mm, yeah, yeah.
Um, but
But I mean, brain tumors can very obviously cause hallucinations and different uh, brain function that are not normal.
mhm,
But the fact that the hallucinations are clearly leading you to know that you have a brain tumor is really wild and weird.
100%. And then the hallucination is thanking you after, or like
Yeah.
that to
Or
me, like
yeah.
they should totally do like Black Mirror episode on this one.
Oh yeah.
That would have been insane. But like a modern day version where the brain tumor is like, "Oh, no problem. Like here's my tip." Like,
Or yeah, please tip your
yeah,
tumor.
tip your tumor.
Yeah,
Nice
if you've
working
been
with
teaching
you.
me this service, please consider reviewing and tipping your tumor.
Imagine it.
Wild.
All right. So I have another story for you.
Okay.
Which is also very interesting. So, true story. Back in 1965, when my mother was young, she was driving down a long road in the middle of nowhere in the USA. When her car broke
Okay.
down, when her car broke down, it was very cold with snow on the ground. It was getting dark. There was no one nearby. No cell phones, of course. All of a sudden, she saw a man walking in a white suit, walking up the road towards her. He was immaculately dressed. A nice and friendly looking man. He asked if he could check under the hood, and of course she said
And he
yes.
did. Sorry.
He opened the hood, appeared to be touching a few things, and then a few seconds later closed the hood. He told her to get in and try starting the car. Sure enough, the car started fine. She looked around to thank him, but he was gone. And for the rest of her life, that she believed that was her real guardian angel. So note here how she talks about it was a man walking up in a white suit, right? And that's what I thought I was very interesting. And as I was going through these thread, more and more people were talking about how they have a very similar story, and it's a man in a white suit. And I just found that
Oh,
insane. I'm like, you almost never see men walking around in white suits unless like
no,
you're
'cause it's tacky.
imagine you're like, oh, white suit tacky. No, thank
It's
you.
like,
He's like, "Let me
thanks, I'm
help your
good.
car." No, I'm questioning your fashion choices there.
Yeah, maybe, I'm okay.
But, um, I just found that very fascinating how, a lot of
Mhm.
people's guardian angel appeared to be a man in a white suit. And a lot of times when we watch, TV shows and they show, quote, unquote, like a heaven, it's like people
Yeah,
dressed in all white. So it's
yeah.
almost like your guardian angel's taking form of what you're used to seeing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. I wonder if it's like that's one of like, is it the chicken or the egg that came first kind of
Yeah.
thing? Is it like, do we represent it like that because we're used to seeing that apparition as a
Mhm.
culture, or do we see that apparition because that's what we expect because of what we see in pop culture?
Exactly, totally. So, what would you think that would make you more susceptible to your guardian angel? So, say it is
Oh,
not
definitely.
someone that you're like the hottest man. He needs to.
I mean, not a white suit.
That's so funny. But yeah, say he's not a relative, or maybe he is a
Okay.
relative. What would you in your head, if you're stranded on the side of the road, very like confused, you need to get home, you need your car working, but say you don't know much about cars. I don't know if you. I don't think you do. So you're like, shit. What would you make you comfortable?
Okay. For the car situation
Sure.
specifically, because that's different, right? I think as much as I'd like to assume, as much as I'd like to not have preconceived prejudice and stuff like
Hmm.
that, probably would be a man
Hmm.
that like I'd be instantly more inclined to trust. Um, Definitely not a family relative. Do not trust anyone with that shit. Have to be a
That's
stranger.
so funny. Someone who looked
I
just
don't
like your
know.
brother
Just
showed up, and you're like, oh, I know you know nothing about cars. Okay.
honestly, as long as they're smiling and they have like kind eyes and they look kind,
Yeah.
I
Right.
think I'd be like, yeah, I need help. Please help me.
Hmm.
But like, they would have to be, you know, dressed appropriately for the weather because otherwise I'd be like super
Yeah.
concerned and kind of
You're middle
suspicious.
of a snowstorm and you see someone walk up to you in flip flops. I'd be
Yeah.
like, don't you want to get that dealt with first before your toes freeze off?
What I wouldn't mind, however, is like very 70s mechanic overalls, a little bit tight, a bit like 70s porn mechanic guy
So
with the porn stash. Yeah.
good old fashioned. Well, this is so funny because like we're talking about the guy in the white suit, and we're thinking of like how TV shows make us believe in like this guy in the white suit is quote unquote God from heaven. You're thinking of the quote
Yeah.
unquote mechanic from these TV shows,
I
the hot
mean,
mechanic.
he can have a look under my hood.
That's so funny. Oh my god. Okay, well, like you, unlike you, I think I would look for a familiar face. Like, I don't know much about cars, but I usually go to my father or my husband for help when it comes to cars. So I think, like,
Yeah.
if I'm stranded there and I'm scared and alone and I see someone that, like, look like my dad potentially or my husband kind of walk through, I think that would comfort me a bit more.
Yeah, but like, wouldn't you be immediately triggered and freaked out and like, because like, consciously that they're not supposed to be there?
Well, no, sorry, not my dad, someone who looked like my dad, like,
Oh,
resembled
look
my
like.
dad.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay, right? And like or, like, think of your mechanic right now if you have one, and, like, if someone just looked like your mechanic, I mean, I don't think many of us have a go-to mechanic, but you know what I mean?
No. I do. Someone that looks like someone you would trust with that kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
So this is the last story I have for you, and this literally
Okay.
blew me away, and I've sent it to
Okay,
you
okay.
here, so if you wanna read it.
Okay, perfect. A friend and I were walking home from the club in Florence, Italy. We walked past an American girl walking the opposite way, her GPS blaring where to go. She seemed drunk. We walked past her, paused, then turned around to look at her again. We turned around and there was an American man looking very fresh and clean for 4 a.m. He said, "Is that your friend over there?" We said, "No." He said, "Should you go be her friend?" We went to walk her home and wait at her door for her friends to buzz her up. Right next to her apartment door was a man hiding behind a parked car, exposed, jacking off the entire time we stood there. My friend and I held hands and booked it all the way home after the girl got inside safely. When we got home, we began discussing what just happened and said, "What about that beautiful blonde man who told us to help her? He was wearing the exact outfit my dad used to wear on Sundays." She was like, "Blonde? No, he was Latino like me, and he was dressed just like my dad." I still think it's the weirdest thing that ever happened to me.
That's what
What?
kind of blew me away. They both had the same exact story, but the man that told them to go help that woman, saying, should you go be her friend to try and save that woman, took form of someone they both would trust. They saw two different people.
Wow.
And I think, like, if this man was dressed like just another man, maybe they wouldn't have thought twice to go help this woman, and
Like, oh my god, that's so, and like they couldn't reach her directly because she's in Paris State, so they reached to some random people next to her to go help
yeah.
her.
And I mean, like, what if this, like, the woman that was drunk and they got her home safely, what if they had talked to her and she was like, "Oh, there was a man like my dad that told me, like, like, I should go find help," but, like, she was drunk and she didn't listen to him or something.
That is really
That
spooky.
freaked me
I
out. I was like, I don't know what the third man syndrome is, but nothing but wholesome stories about this figure helping
yeah.
people, and
Well, you don't hear the bad stories because people aren't there to tell them.
yeah, that's when their their guardian angel failed. Just joking. Just joking. It's not a thing.
I was thinking more like, what's the opposite of guardian?
I don't know.
An
Yeah.
abandoning devil,
Yeah, exactly.
neglecting devil.
Actually, there was this one story about this guy. He was like, I remember once, like, a tree branch fell on him, and he heard a voice inside his head say shit. And he was kind of like, my guardian angel wasn't helping me, but he did definitely agree with me. Your guardian angel was a little slow
That's
there. He's like, I left you alone for 5 minutes, and this is what you get up to. But I thought,
that's hilarious.
at the end, it's so fascinating. Like, some people have encounters with another person. Some people have encounters with what they perceive as an angel, like man in a white suit or whatever. And then some people's guardian angel is someone that they would trust, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I think that's why earlier I said like I think I have a problem with the term
Mhm.
angel, but like yeah, if you're someone who's been raised in that context and who believes in a specific religion, stuff like that, well then yeah, maybe a man in a white suit would be the most comforting thing for
Mhm.
you, right? But then if you're someone who's someone different, it's like well yeah, just a kind looking white man apparently is that blonde guy. He dressed like my dad is what's
Yeah.
comforting. And someone else like, no, I'd like him to be
Yeah.
Latino,
No, totally. I
So
actually
weird.
didn't even think of that, but it is, at the end of the day, it's catered to you. And it's like, yeah, whether it's
Yeah.
someone comforting a family member, or sometimes you're like, I don't trust no one. So it's the voice in your head that's your own voice, you know? Um,
True. Right.
yeah. And it's the voice in your head that's your own voice. Or there was some of the voices story, like this woman, she had two different voices in her head. Maybe she doesn't even trust herself. Um,
Need a second
right?
opinion.
And some of the stories about the voice in the head was like, oh, it was the voice of my deceased father or mother, you know? Uh, a lot of people were like, no, it was my own voice that I heard in my head telling me what to do. So I just thought that it was insane. The third man syndrome is basically just about a presence around you that doesn't make you feel alone in your time of need.
Wild.
Um,
That's that's really
yeah, kind
cool.
of like the definition, right? When a presence intervenes at a critical moment to offer you some encouragement, guidance, and support. So honestly, I'm looking forward for my third man syndrome to pop out the next time I'm in need.
Well, hopefully, like, in that
Yeah,
kind of need anytime
I
soon.
really hope so.
Because yeah, it all seems like it's people who are in very dangerous
I know.
situations.
Watch us get in a car accident. I'm like,
Um,
where the fuck are you, boys?
yeah. It's like, I mean, I
I'll be
feel
truly
like I would even be
disappointed.
suspicious of hearing my own
Yeah.
voice. Yeah, I know. I did I even tell you this? I have this thing where like every now and then I'll hear like voices, like auditory hallucination. Like I'm doing the dishes and I hear like a whisper or something, or um, and I thought it was normal. I thought this happened to everyone all the time because it happens frequently, and it's like, oh, I'd probably just imagine that or whatever. Sometimes it's my name, sometimes it's a random sentence, sometimes it's like, right? Is this not
No,
normal?
no way.
You can't
Like, is
relate?
this how we
Okay.
figure out you're schizophrenic? Like,
It's funny that you say that because when I told Justin, he's like, maybe it's schizophrenia. I was like, no, it's not schizophrenia. And then, like, for the next like 30 minutes, he's Googling the symptoms of schizophrenia on his phone.
oh my god, I'm thinking too.
And we were at a party. I told that story to the entire group, and he's just like there in the corner Googling
I'm at the
schizophrenia.
party. I think everyone was probably like, "Oh, I tell him to go get figured." So,
Yeah.
what do they say to you?
Nothing. It's not like they say full sentence. It's like I catch a glimpse of a conversation or catch like a glimpse of a voice or whatever.
Okay, so they're not
Or
even
sometimes
talking to
like
you.
I'm about to fall asleep and sometimes it's my name, no. But it doesn't feel directed to me all the time.
Mhm.
And it's really just like a small glimpse.
Interesting.
Often when like I'm right about to fall asleep also, sometimes
Well,
it's
I think
more aggressive than
when you're about
others.
to fall asleep, it might just be like your dreams.
Oh yeah, it's just I think it's just like some my brain doing some random shit.
Mhm.
Wait, am I schizophrenic?
Yeah. My next deep dive is gonna be
I
about
think it's
schizophrenia.
ghosts. My wait, no, I take it back. I think
You
it's
think it's
ghosts. I
ghosts?
hear
Okay,
spirits.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I took enough meds already as it
Yeah.
is. I don't want to
Yeah.
add some.
Yeah, well, I hope it's
Oh
not
my god.
schizophrenia. I hope it's your guardian angel. Like, I hope it's well, you do have sleep apnea, so it's your guardian angel, like, make sure your machine's on tight while you're falling asleep. And your guardian angel, or sorry, your the voices that looking out for you is like, don't grip that knife too tight while you're washing dishes. I think that's what it is.
Sure,
Yeah.
let's go with that. I like that. That's what I'll tell my psychiatrist.
In conclusion, what I'd like to say is be kind to the voices in your head. And if there are people talking to you, maybe go get checked out. But yeah,
Yeah, that that story of the woman with the tumor is really, really, really
that was insane. That's also like not third man syndrome. I think all the other stories were, but not that one was. That just blew me away
yeah.
about the voice in her head. Um,
But I think my favorite story is the last one we just
that
read.
was my
The
favorite
tumor,
too.
like it's
I think
crazy.
that's so cool.
That's
That
really cool.
the man looking out for that woman that was drunk appeared in two different forms for two different people in her time of need.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I hope you'll enjoy.
Wow. Yeah. What's that? Oh, oh, they say well done, Saniya.
I got so scared. This is so
Oh
upsetting.
my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm worried about you. Let's go get you some help. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Right. Well, bye everyone. Talk to you
Bye.
next week.
All the voices in our
Hope you
head.
enjoy. Yes, everybody says bye.
Bye.
Ow.
Tell Me Like I'm Stupid is created and produced by us, Saniya and Thomas. You can follow us on Instagram at Tell Me Like I'm Stupid.
If you'd like to support us, please subscribe and review on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Our cover art was created by Ish. Find him on Instagram at h.e.e.s.h.
Thank you for listening.